quise más, siempre intenté superarme, intenté de conseguir más objetivos.
Here's Messi, away from 2, 3, 4, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And I said it before, it's like playing PlayStation. You give the ball to the guy and you start to go through every player.
Fantastic player who had written a great story of football.
This is Lionel Messi, a genius, a magician, a champion, an icon, a footballer who made the impossible look normal. And these are the rivals, legends, teammates, coaches, and opponents who spoke about him. Let's watch. There are great footballers. There are legendary footballers. And then there is Lionel Messi. Some players are remembered for power, others for speed, others for goals. Messi somehow combined everything. The dribbling, the vision, the finishing, the passing, the intelligence, the control. Football had seen stars before, but many believe they had never seen anyone quite like this. From a moment he arrived in Barcelona's academy, coaches noticed something different. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the strongest. But the ball seemed attached to him. Defenders couldn't predict him. Coaches couldn't teach what he naturally possessed. And opponents quickly discovered the same thing. Winger, Messi is a PlayStation player. That sentence became famous for a reason, because it perfectly described what millions were seeing. Things that looked impossible suddenly became routine. The impossible became expected. Week after week, year after year. Pep, Messi is the best player I have ever seen. When Guardiola says that, people listen. He coached some of football's greatest talents. Yet even he struggled to describe Messi. Because how do you expect? Every defender had a plan. Every coach prepared tactics. Every team studied hours of footage. And still, Messi found a way. Again, and again, and again. The ultimate test of greatness isn't what your fans say. It's what your enemies say. Because rivals don't owe you praise. They don't want to admire you. Yet Messi forced them to. For over a decade, Real Madrid tried to stop him. The world's most expensive defenders, elite coaches, generational players, all searching for answers. Most failed. Ramos. For years we suffered against Messi. That confession means more than any trophy statistic. Because Ramos wasn't watching from television. He was living the nightmare. Facing Messi directly. Trying to stop him. And often failing. The same story repeated across Europe. Premier League clubs. Serie A giants. Champions League contenders. Everyone had a plan. Few had success. He's the hardest player I've ever faced. Imagine hearing that from one of football's greatest defenders. A man who played against elite strikers throughout his career. Yet Messi stood above them all. What made him terrifying wasn't just talent. It was unpredictability. You couldn't force him one direction. You couldn't show him onto a weaker foot. You couldn't predict the next move. By the time you reacted, he was already gone. Maldini. Players like Messi come once in a lifetime. And when legends start speaking like fans, you know you're witnessing something extraordinary. Every generation creates a debate. Pelé or Maradona, Cruyff or Beckenbauer. And then football received its biggest argument. Messi or Ronaldo. For more than 15 years, football lived inside that discussion. Every goal, every trophy, every Ballon d'Or, every record, compared, measured, debated. Millions piquet seed. Entire fan bases went to war. But even inside the debate, admiration remained. Ronaldo. We shared the stage for 15 years. The rivalry elevated football. It pushed standards higher and forced both players to reach levels previously thought impossible. Pundits argued endlessly. Former players disagreed. Fans defended their favorite star. But one thing was certain. Messi's name always belonged in the conversation. Lineker. Messi is the best there's ever been. Others chose differently. But regardless of opinion, nobody could ignore his greatness. Because numbers alone were ridiculous. Hundreds of goals. Hundreds of assists. League titles. Champions League. International trophies. Records everywhere. And somehow he made those records feel secondary. Because people remembered the magic more than the statistics. The moments. The emotions. The memories. That's what separated him. The most revealing moments came when rivals stopped competing and started telling the truth. Away from the stadium, away from the pressure, away from the rivalry. That's when the confessions appeared. Buffon. Messi is an alien. Buffon faced some of history's greatest attackers. Yet Messi left a different impression. Not human. Alien. Think about that. One legend describing another as something beyond ordinary football. Zlatan. Messi was not from his planet. Another superstar. Another confession. Same conclusion. These weren't fans speaking. These weren't journalists. These were elite footballers. Men who understood the game at the highest level. And many of them arrived at the same answer. Messi was different. Not just better. Different. Henry. What Messi does is simply unbelievable. Footballers rarely become speechless. Yet Messi regularly achieved exactly that. Even teammates struggled to explain what they witnessed. Critics once claimed Messi lacked leadership. They looked at his quiet personality, his calm demeanor, his reserved nature, and they misunderstood him. Leadership doesn't always shout. Leadership doesn't always demand attention. Sometimes leadership inspires through actions, through consistency, through sacrifice, through responsibility. Messi showed all three, especially with Argentina. For years, he carried enormous pressure. Every tournament brought expectation. Every defeat brought criticism. Every failure became a national discussion. Many players would have broken. Messi stayed. He kept fighting. He lost finals. He faced heartbreak. He heard criticism from every direction. Yet he returned. Again, and again, and again. That persistence revealed his character. Di Maria. People don't know how much Messi suffers for Argentina. The public saw goals. The public saw trophies. Teammates saw the sacrifices. They saw the pressure. They saw the responsibility. And they saw a captain refusing to quit. Then came redemption. The Copa America. The Finalissima. The World Cup. The story finally received its ending. And the football world celebrated with him. Even rivals. There was one achievement everyone wanted to see. One final chapter. One final trophy. The World Cup. For years it followed him. The one thing missing. The one argument critics always used. Then came Qatar. And Messi delivered one of the greatest tournament performances football has ever seen. Goals. Assists. Leadership. Moments. Magic. Everything. Commentator. Argentina are champions of the world. The image instantly became iconic. A photograph that will live forever. Not because it ended a debate, but because it completed a journey. A small boy from Rosario. A teenager who left home chasing a dream. A footballer who carried impossible expectations. Finally standing at the summit. World champion. The football world watched and applauded. Legacy close. What makes a football legend? Goals? Trophies? Records? Perhaps. But true greatness is measured differently. It's measured by respect. The respect of teammates. The respect of coaches. The respect of opponents. And even the respect of rivals. When the people who suffered against you, the people who lost against you, the people who spent years trying to stop you, all reach the same conclusion, the verdict becomes impossible to ignore. Lionel Messi wasn't just a great footballer. He wasn't just a champion. He wasn't just an icon. He became a standard, a reference point, a player future generations will be compared against forever. Because greatness fades, records fall, trophies gather dust, but stories survive. And Messi's story will survive for generations. This was Lionel Messi, the impossible made real, the magician of football, the dream of millions, and the nightmare of defenders. Tell me in the comments, which rival gave the most shocking confession about Messi? And which football legend should we cover next? Subscribe, because every legend has a story,